Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering what has just happened over the weekend, and that is Tankfest 2024. Honestly, what an experience. It is always a fantastic time at the Tank Museum, whether you're there for Tankfest or for just going to the museum. It is always a great experience to go down and see. With Tankfest being the big thing of the weekend, naturally, they have lots of Armour displays. They've got the displays in the museum. They've got the Vehicle Conservation Centre. And then you've got all the people that are knocking about as well that you can speak to as well in the vendor section. You've got all the crews that run the tanks that run around the arena that you can go speak to in the tank park. It is a great, great time. If you ever get the chance to go to the Tank Museum in Bovington, in Dorset, in the UK, get down there and go see it, because it is absolutely worth doing. It is a hell of a lot of fun. It's very tiring. There is a lot to do, but that's a good thing, right? There is so much to see. If you're going to do it, I'd recommend doing 2 days at least, because you get 1 day to go look around the museum and 1 day to go and just watch all the displays, because both of those could take your whole day up and take all of your time. And it is a great, great time. I've been there like 4 times now for Tankfest. And, I mean, I went back in the first days, like back in 2013, before I even knew about the game that we play. And then I've been there in 2018 last year and this year. And, yeah, it is honestly a phenomenal, phenomenal experience. If you ever get the chance to get going, just go. Just go. It is a great time. I mean, in the Vehicle Conservation Centre, you've got tanks like the 4202. You've got tanks like the 4004 Conway T14. The Aluminium Chieftain, which is the 4211, which you don't see pretty much anywhere else, so they're always great to see. And then in the actual museum itself, you've got stuff like Tiger 131, you've got Leopards, T72s, you've got all sorts in there, as well as having all the other cool stuff like the model vendors and stuff like that have all the stuff to show you. It is honestly, it's a wicked, wicked experience. Absolutely 100% well worth going for. I mean, this year had the special thing that we had, you know, the 4005. The 4005 was running around the arena at Tankfest, which was amazing to see. Thank you so much to AW Hughes for just getting that thing up and running. It's an absolute long job to get it done. I think they did it in 6 months, which is impressive. That is just impressive. So fair play to them. Well done on that. And yeah, thank you to everyone that, you know, thank you to the museum for putting on all this stuff as well. It is well worth going down there, supporting the Tank Museum, and you get to see cool stuff like the 4005, which was the gate guardian of the museum for so long. And it was even in the playground at one point, as they say in one of the displays, which is just madness. But the fact that it actually got up and running and it's running around the arena now is absolutely incredible, and you get to see that. And you'll see that in the videos that I've got that are coming up as well, which... yeah, it's just great. Thank you to the Wargaming staff as well. Thank you for inviting us down there. Thank you for meeting everybody. So thank you to Winged and KB as well. It was great meeting all of the people that you generally see on your screen as well, and getting to talk to them about the game. And thank you to you guys as well. Thank you to you guys, because I met 14 or 15 of you over the time that I was there, over the 3 days, and it was great to chat to you. It was great to see some of you, well, some of the faces behind the names that you see on your social medias or on your YouTube, right? And it's always a great experience. If you do see me at these events, hopefully if we're there again next year, if you do see me, don't hesitate to come and say hi, because it's always wonderful seeing you guys. And it does mean a hell of a lot to me that you do come and say hi, because I don't expect it for a pleb on the internet that just talks about some tank game, right? And yeah, it's always a wonderful experience talking to you people, as well as just the general Tankfest experience, right? It's a great time. And thank you to you guys watching as well, because you guys watching it, without you guys, this wouldn't be possible, right? We wouldn't be talking about a tank game on the internet. We wouldn't be going down there watching, seeing all these tanks that we see in game, which is, they just look incredible. And I mean, you see it as well, to be fair, when you actually go down there and see stuff like the Yag Tiger, the Tiger 2, the Comet, the Cromwell, and you just see those tanks in real life. You see how faithfully recreated they are in game. I mean, the one thing you don't get in game is the aspect ratio also, almost, right? When you see these tanks, you go, oh, it's a little chaffy, right? It's dinky, it's cute. You go see the chaffy and it's like, oh boy, it's massive, and you're just like, wow, this is honestly great. One of my favourite tanks running around the arena is definitely the Chaffee, because that thing absolutely zips past as well, and you get that feeling with the vibrations of it. It's wonderful. The Churchill is also exceptionally loud. The tracks are just mentally loud on it, and you'll hopefully hear that, and it'll translate in the videos. I don't know, but yeah. So what we're going to do with this video is show you just all the clips of the arena that I got, so that you can get your little bit of experience of what Tankfest is like. You get to see some of the arena shows. Obviously, if you want to see them all in full, you can watch them on the Tank Museum's live stream or in Wargaming's live stream that they did as well. And you'll be able to see all of that. And then I've got other videos that are coming up along on the channel as well, for which we'll do little walk rounds of some of the exhibits in the museum and then show them in game, right? And do like a mini review. It'll be like a little mini series. I think there's going to be about 7 videos of that in total. And you get to see what they're like IRL versus in game, and then just see some of the gameplay like general, because that's what we do on this channel. And then also, if you've also been watching the channel in the last weekend, you'll have seen the number of shorts that we've got, which is we've put up so many shorts so that you get just that little snippet of what Tankfest is like and what an experience it is. Because when you go to Tankfest, honestly, you will enjoy all the exhibits, you'll enjoy the displays, you'll see all the vendors that are down there, and then you'll probably spend a lot in the Tank Museum shop as well, because it just has that power, because you see stuff like Tog plushies and you go, it's a Tog plushie, I'm going to buy it, because of course I am. And as well as that, to be fair, the cool stuff, you know, I say cool, but you get like stuff like the books, right? That's really interesting for any sort of tank nerd and any sort of history nerd in general, right? So yeah, and with that, you're supporting the Tank Museum, which is always a great cause to support. So without further ado, I'm going to send you over to the... I've jabbered on enough, right? I'm going to send you over to the clips of the arena displays now, where you can get what it's like just seeing some of these tanks run past you. I mean, it won't translate that well over on the videos, but you just get to see them run around the arena in IRL, which is always great. So enjoy those videos, people.
7mm battery has wielded behind them, and they're firing over open sights, bit of fire support for their infantry. British infantry, understandably, have retreated. They've gone back. Now the question is, what are we going to do? How can we do about this? We are going to need to flank that German position and take it. And we have a little armoured support here. Over on that side of the arena, you can see our replica Mark IV tank. You can see a real one in the museum. We're in the museum, we're in the First World War. That's about 80% of all the surviving First World War armour on the planet. They're over 100 years old, they are very delicate, so we can't use real ones. That is a replica. If you've seen the film War Horse, you've seen that tank before. It was built for Steven Spielberg. The nice thing about it is it's very accurate. That is the sort of speed that a First World War tank moved at. Mark IV, it's going about 4 miles an hour on the road, probably about 2 miles an hour off-road. It is not too much of a problem, because it was designed to smash the boat in the wire to let the infantry through behind it. So in a sense, it has to move it into place. The Mark IV is coming forward. I suspect those German soldiers in their position, they're directing fire down on it. They've got rifles, they've also got an MG08, a medium machine gun. You can hear that firing now. That is capable of knocking out 450 rounds a minute. The Mark IV's ordinary small arms ammunition won't penetrate that. It's got about 12 mil of armour, so those will bounce off, but it makes things uncomfortable for the crew inside, because the rounds break up and you get splash and spawn with the fragments of metal, hot lead actually coming into the interior of the tank. Infantry doing advanced contact going forward. I think the German army has lost heart. Yes, we've got hands up. They're going forward, weapons down, hands in the air, hand your hog, hand your hog. Moving forward to secure the position. This is one little incident of thousands when the British Army, French Army and the Americans drove the German Army back tens and tens of kilometres, right up the armistice line of November 1918. A huge bulge in the Western Front,
everyone,
heading
get in the back of the truck.
Now, just coming onto the arena is an original vehicle. It's a Liberty truck. That's an American-built truck, First World War period, so over 100 years old. The Liberty it's significant because the British Army is the most mechanised army in the world in this latter period of World War I. We are using more motor vehicles than anyone else. Horse-drawn transport is starting to be replaced. That Liberty truck was a good contribution. It came from the USA. They built about 8,000 of them. It's not very fast, 15 miles an hour, but two types. One will shift 2.5 tons of stores, the other up to about 5 tons. And of course that's a lot quicker, a lot more efficient than using GS horsepower. The Liberty has pulled around and British soldiers flying in. It's actually rather nice, just for once. You don't have to go everywhere on your flat feet.
Yeah, there's some sandwiches in there. I'll get some more stuff later on.
Sir John Carden designs the Matilda One. It's a tank that is literally built to a very tight budget, about 6,000 guineas is given as its development cost for the first prototype. And that is produced by Vickers in small numbers. We think about 140 a day leading up to the Second World War. They know it's an interim model. Again, it's a bit of a work in progress. So even as they put the order in for the Matilda One, they also put the order in for the bigger version, Matilda 2, that again we're going to see on the arena in a moment. Now it's a hot day today, and I'm saying this on behalf of all of the infantry tanks, cruiser tanks, when everyone else seems to come up with the idea, well, shouldn't we really have perhaps one type of tank for everything? Well, careful, we're going to see what the Germans do in a little while with our Second World War armour as well. So lots of countries are experimenting at this time about what the tank might be, because we've only had a small experience of real tank warfare in the First World War. So however laughable this might seem to us nowadays, it's being used in 1940 in France. Actually, it's having a go at an idea. Now with the Matilda One, 140 examples are made. We're lucky here, amazingly enough, we've got all 3 that remain. We end up with a situation that Hitler does a stop order for the advancing German armour. And why this is so important, because that one small tank battle, and the guys in it probably didn't even know what they were up to at the time, chaos. Lots of those British tanks knocked out, as Ronald comes back, uses his 88mm flat guns to knock out tanks like our Matilda Ones here, and the Matilda 2 about to come on. That battle becomes really important because when it stops that German 7th Panzer Division, we reinforce overnight Calais, Boulogne and Dunkirk. Second design of an infantry tank to a company that's never made tanks before, Vulcan, up in the north of England. They make locomotives. Can you make a tank for us? Here's some plans, you work them up. Within 3 years, they've managed to go from drawings to production. So in 1939, we're getting these Matilda 2 tanks starting to come off the drawing board. And as you can see, even though it's called Matilda 2, it's a very different tank. Much bigger and more powerfully armed. So with the Matilda 2, you've got 78mm of frontal armour, and again, very thick for the time it goes into service. You've got the British 2-pounder gun. It's slightly bigger in calibre than those 37mm the Germans are using. But we can now look at the next type, the fourth type of infantry tank we designed. And this is put together initially in 1940 with lessons that are taken back from that fighting against the Germans at that early period. We're going to need more infantry tanks, said the Met War Office at the time. The first model of Churchill tank is undoubtedly a disaster. It has lots of problems with it. This is the third model, a Mark III, which is getting better.
Listen to those tracks.
Yeah. So you don't get that in the game, do you?
No.
When we go into final production, it's the meter that goes into Cromwell. We've got an even better tank on the boards, the A41. We're going to see it, not ready yet. So we get the best of the Cromwell bits. 40% of this tank is made with Cromwell components. We call it components, and that's what's coming down now. So finally, we're allowed to go back to looking at the tank. It's now given a higher priority. We've had the great advantage of the Americans turning up with the M3 Grant and the M4 Sherman. They supply us in those middle war years, which is great for Britain because it means we could have concentrated elsewhere on our aeroplanes, etc. But later on, we go back to the idea, let's build our own tanks. We've been holding back in the factories or only building those earlier models. And when we come out with a tank like the Comet, it's got a 77mm high velocity gun. It fires the same projectile as the 17-pounder we got on the Sherman Firefight. Fantastic British anti-tank gun. What they do, same projectile, different case. 3-inch anti-aircraft case, slightly shorter, can fit in the turret easier.
The intention was always to mount a 50mm gun on there, which would have made it one of the biggest tank guns in the world at the time. This was not initially done because the German industry was told up to produce a 37mm anti-tank gun, so the early versions of the Mark III had the 37mm, and in common with many tanks of that era, it had relatively thin armour, no more than 30mm armour. Now, the great virtue of the Mark III is it could be updated. The gun, the turret was big enough to take the bigger 50mm gun, and the gun you can see on the tank we've got from around here is actually the big 50mm. The hull could take extra armour. If you look very closely at our example here, you'll see extra armour is bolted around the front there to give better protection to the crew. And this is a tank that was a mainstay of the Panzer divisions during the attack on Poland, of the Low Countries, of France, and the early years of the fighting in the Western Desert. There it was very effective. By about 1942, it was beginning to get a little bit longer than the gun tank of the German armed forces. So, Panzer III remained in production throughout the war. Ultimately, our so-called the Stumpf 3, an assault gun,
which in fact was the greatest killer of Allied tanks in World War II in the Scrum 3. Now, entering the arena now, we have the NTA-1 Stuart. This was the first American tank to see combat in World War II, supplied to the British.
There's an amazing amount of dust it picks up though, isn't it? It's drying out quite heavily now, so it's just going to start picking up badly.
Whenever you're like this, so you could be 10,000. Yeah, 10,000 and then drop.
I wonder, quite a few of the tanks have a funny little bucket hanging around the back of it. No, I don't know what that's for.
Wait, why are they turning?
Maybe. Yeah. There it is.
I'll tell you another one. Usually it's last year.
Hanging off the outside, the chances are you've done something wrong. But the whole thing about chatting is you can actually hit backwards. So that is the M24 Chatty. Now the tank that has just drawn up behind me, and I can tell you which it is without even turning around and look, is first of the Soviet years. This is T-3485. Now, if you were to ask what are the two most important tanks of World War II, the answer would be the M4 Sherman, you've seen one of those already, and this one, the T-34. Soviet design, pre-war design in fact, quite innovative in some ways. This is one of the first tanks to use sloped armour. Most of the vehicles you've seen so far have been quite big and boxy. Sloped armour does two things. Somebody shooting at you, it improves likelihood of a ricochet up the armour, but it also increases the line of sight of things, literally the amount of metal that an incoming round has got to get to. But the really, really important thing about
The children that David spoke about a while ago, it was ship taken to the Far East, where it proved to be very effective against much later Japanese tanks, but also as an indirect fire method using F-75. Now we've got our Sherman coming on. I'm going to hand over now to David, who's going to pick up on the M4 Sherman. Thank you, Tim. So, two classic American bits of engineering in the arena there. An interim model, the M3, but what the American military really wanted was a turreted tank with initially a 75mm gun, so that's what we can see with the M4 that's on the mound there, our Fury tank, the one we lent to the film set. This particular one, M4 A2 E8 The A2 is about the engine. This has a twin diesel engine. I have mentioned earlier about the British tanks not having enough of the same engine type. Same in America. R975 radial engines, aeroplane engines is what they really wanted to put in all their Shermans. There's not enough of them. So they end up with 4 different engines going into Shermans in World War II. This one has the later model gun as well, the 76mm gun. It's got what they call Wotconsole, the often call a W, and it's listed as business as well. That means the ammunition is stowed inside.
Tanks coming out today, to begin with, we have 3 American Cold War tanks, the US tanks. We have the M47, and then the tank with the tricolour camouflage, that is the M60, and behind that a real monster, the M103. Circle to the far end of the arena, I'll just grab a slip of word in sideways. Behind the M113 is a French light tank, very large gun, the AMX-13. And then we have this monster. Now, this is the M103. I would say if a child drew a tank, it would be the M103. Isn't that just an absolute classic tank design? It is a heavy tank, so it weighs, I think, up to 65 tonnes. It's actually not quite as nimble, despite having a very, very large 1200 horsepower engine. It's not quite as nimble as such, so its top speed is only in really the upper 20s, low 30s. It is very much hard-hitting. It's a reaction to the idea that the Soviets were building bigger and tougher tanks, things like the IS-3 that became the T-10. We were also concerned, we had a look, rather surreptitious look, at T-54, and Western armies were concerned that our guns would penetrate their armour. So this is really the last of the heavy tanks. Creating a turret like that is a demand for it itself.
Alright.
Because it's just going to be that high.
Now, the original specification for the Centurion said it had to have armour protection to stop the German 88mm gun. It had to have firepower, the equivalent of that 88mm or better. First of all, our allies. We're going to see some of the other ones that are sold in a while. In the background, we're also worried. We found the wreck of a JS3 Russian tank. Now, we were hoping to have one here. Sadly, the one from the Belgian Tank Museum that was going to come here, it broke its clutch about a month or so back. Couldn't make it here. But it's a tank we were frightened of. Would the 20-pounder, the gun on that Centurion, would it penetrate the thick armour on the front of the JS3? We thought it would be okay. But what about the next generation Russian heavy tank that might be coming? They're already building this tank called the T-10, 8,000 made, before Khrushchev, the Russian premier, he doesn't like heavy tanks, he knocks it on the head. So we start experimenting with bigger guns. And what they reckon, they might need a gun of about 180mm, an enormous gun to set on the tank, to take on the next generation heavy Russian tanks. And that's the reason this project started, FE 4005. If we're going to need a bigger gun, we need to start testing that gun. And it goes through 2 iterations. The first one, 183mm gun, a assisted loading system. This is the second iteration that they actually do most of the test firing from.
A great success!